We all have our favorite subjects in school. Some are brainiacs and, can't get enough math and science. Others are drawn to reading or writing, like moi. But when push comes to shove, the most important subject is history. A famous person once said, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's why we study it. It helps us avoid making the same mistake twice. We learn about great battles, exceptional leaders, men like Ronald Reagan, who wouldn't let America be pushed around. In the midst of simmering tensions with the Soviet Union, Reagan went to the communist stronghold of Berlin and reminded them who ran the world.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
History has always shown us strong leaders calm us down in times of fear, like George W. Bush after 9/11.
I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
But Joe Biden's not that guy. We knew Joe was a bad student, but I guess he flunked history too, because Biden's dragging us, kicking and streaming, back to the foreign policy of the 1960s. Proxy wars in foreign lands, brinkmanship with Russia, and the threat of nuclear annihilation. We haven't been in this position since the height of the Cold War, when nuclear destruction was never that far from our minds.
8, 9, 9.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. These are the stakes. To make a world in which all of God's children can live.
We created jingles for kids and told them to duck and cover on the streets and in the classroom, remember?
Paul and Patty know this. No matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb, duck and cover. Sundays, holidays, vacation time, we must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do. You and you and you and you. Duck and cover.
There was a reason to be scared. Nuclear threats engulfed us. In 1962, Russia pushed things to the limit when they placed nuclear missiles 90 miles off our coast in Cuba. They were in striking distance of the entire U.S. We were all at risk. The Cuban Missile Crisis gripped the world for weeks as America tried to spare the world from mutually assured destruction. And lucky for us, we had a leader who rose to that challenge. John F. Kennedy told Khrushchev where he could send those missiles.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union. I call upon Chairman Khrushchev to halt and eliminate this clandestine, reckless, and provocative threat to world peace and to stable relations between our two nations.
Our Navy quarantined the island and the Soviets blinked. This is what presidents do, defend their country. They tell the world America won't be pushed around. They don't use the threat of nuclear war to scare you into submission. But that's what Joe Biden is doing. Last night, Joe turned up the fear factor when he told a group of Democrat donors that, quote, we have not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Did you know that we're this close to nuclear Armageddon? If that's true, don't you think he should tell the country before he tells his donors? This comment exploded onto the scene and no one knew where it was coming from. Did our satellites detect a change in Russia's nuclear posture? Is there intelligence showing that Vlad's nuking up?
President planned to use the word Armageddon.
We have new intel that caused the president to ratchet up the level of concern.
No, the president was speaking about concerns about Putin's threats to use nuclear weapons.
So there's no new intelligence. Biden just made that statement out of the blue. I don't know about you, but it sounds like it's time for a summit. Zelensky in Ukraine isn't helping things, asking NATO to launch a preemptive nuclear strike against Russia. I thought everything was going according to plan. I kept hearing that Biden's strategy was working and Ukraine was on the offense. Now Biden's talking about nuclear Armageddon and Zelensky wants to start World War III. This seems like something the commander-in-chief might want to clear up, but apparently he was in a little bit of a rush.
Mr. President, will you talk to us about Putin, sir? Do you think Armageddon is coming, sir?
Why is the president running? It's not like the chopper's going to leave without him. He's the only passenger. Just some casual, loose nuke talk, no questions. Hey, have a nice weekend, America. This guy's a piece of work, isn't he? And today we found out the Biden administration purchased about $300 million in anti-radiation drugs. I feel like we're being kept in the dark about something. The Democrats are doing everything they can to make this feel like it's the 60s again. Drugs, crime, nukes. New York City's even making nuclear drill public service announcements.
So there's been a nuclear attack. Don't ask me how or why, just know that the big one has hit, okay? So what do? There are 3 important steps that I want you to remember. Step 1, get inside fast.
And duck and cover. So Biden's taken our economy back to Jimmy Carter and our foreign policy back to LBJ. And why does he always say stuff like this at fundraisers? Last fundraiser, it was half the nation semi-fascist. This fundraiser, the world's ending. We're all going to die. Is he trying to scare donors into coughing up more cash? Or is this guy so insecure and feels so inadequate that he just overcompensates when he's in a room full of successful people? But forget about what he says. Look at what he does. His list of foreign policy failures goes back 50 years. Biden fought Reagan over moving missiles to Europe to defend our allies. He voted against the Gulf War in '91, then turned around and backed the Iraq War in 2003. And then he botched the status of forces agreement with the Iraqis, left a vacuum, and ISIS filled it up. He told Obama not to launch the raid against bin Laden, and he oversaw the disgraceful pullout from Afghanistan, humiliating us in front of the entire world, something Putin saw, emboldening him to move on Ukraine. I want Russia out of Ukraine, too, just as much as anyone. But with Biden in charge, he could easily turn that country into Vietnam. We spent years pouring weapons, money, and advisors into the Southeast Asian nation 60 years ago. But, by the end of the decade, we had like 500,000 troops committed to the hot jungle. We already have guys in Ukraine now. We do. And they're doing a hell of a job. But I just don't trust this president to manage it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Then something occurred to me. The Biden family's been involved in Ukraine for years before the war started. What is it about Ukraine that the Bidens are always so knee-deep in? Is it the money? Of course. But there's got to be something bigger. And I think we found out what it is. Biden's green revolution goes nowhere without Ukraine. Let me explain. The most important thing needed to build an electric car is lithium, a precious metal required to build every battery. It was recently discovered that Ukraine has some of the largest lithium deposits in the entire world. Right now, China is the world's largest lithium processor. So Biden's Green New Deal is dead on arrival if the Chinese and the Russians own a majority of the world's lithium. Now, remember, the left insisted that Republicans launched wars in the Middle East over oil, even though they never seized any. But is the Biden administration at war for lithium batteries? It's not the only factor, but it is a factor.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.